Back in 2011, a game called Sonic Generations was released for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and Nintendo 3DS. And Sonic had kind of been in a bit of a weird funk. I have always enjoyed most Sonic games, obviously Sonic 06 aside, but I felt like Sonic was doing decent stuff on the Wii, but it just felt like he lacked a bit of a direction when it came to the modern platforms and having all the graphical bells and whistles. That was until Sonic Generations came out. This game sort of blended all of the different facets of Sonic the Hedgehog from the classic to the modern and really made an interesting blend of a game. Well, Sonic X Shadows Generations, or Sonic Cross Shadows Generations, I don't know what the hell you call it. We're just going to say Sonic X Shadows Generations for this video. Definitely was a welcome surprise when it released last year on modern platforms. It also came out on the Nintendo Switch, but was locked at 30 frames per second because, I mean, why wouldn't it be? Well, this game is a launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I've been putting a good bit of time into it, and I have a lot of things I want to say about this game because I feel like this game is kind of flying a bit under the radar when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2 launch games, so I want to shine a bit of a light on it. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. Let's talk about Sonic X Shadow Generations for the Nintendo Switch 2. In case you're unfamiliar with what this game is all about, it's a blend of 2D and 3D Sonic the Hedgehog games. And Generations, of course, meaning classic levels sort of reimagined in both 2D and 3D. You have your basic acts where there is Act 1 and Act 2 for a level, but the first act of the game is a modern Sonic experience, meaning that there are 3D elements going on. There is the homing attack that you can do, and it's built on kind of like these large landscapes. You know, it almost feels a bit like a roller coaster when you're going throughout these levels, and it really gives you a sense of like thrills and wonderment because Sonic is blazing around on these levels at lightning speed, of course. Then you have Act 2, which is the slower-paced 2D style levels, where you don't have all the tricks of the trade that Sonic has in the 3D levels, but it's more based on precise platforming, sometimes speed, sometimes you gotta slow it down a little bit. And I really like this blend of styles because I feel like it helps highlight both of the positives of the 2D and the 3D style of Sonic the Hedgehog games. You know, you still get the bells and whistles of the 3D levels with the homing stuff, but if you want to kind of slow it down a little bit and get that more classic 2.5D, in this case, style of gameplay, you get really the best of both worlds. And I feel like both of them feel very well polished in this version of the game. Sonic Generations was a great game when it released back in 2011, but everything seems a little bit snappier in this version of the game, and I definitely appreciate it for it. The way it kind of works is you get a segment of different levels, and then you have to essentially do these challenges in order to get boss keys. Once you have enough boss keys, then you can enter the boss level and move on to the next set of levels. There are quite a few different levels, and there's quite a few different challenges. It ranges from stuff like beating a time limit down to beating a Sonic Shadow, like not a Shadow the Hedgehog, but like a Shadow, a clone of Sonic, we should say, in, you know, trying to get to the level at the end before your clone Sonic the Hedgehog gets there. Very well done stuff. You know, it's fun. The challenges are kind of varied, and some of them get pretty difficult as the game goes on. And then, of course, you have your boss battles, rinse and repeat. It's all very fun. It's all very well done, and it's a lot of fun to just explore like classic levels with things like remixed music and remixed locations. You know, it feels familiar, but it also feels very fresh at the same time. But of course, you have the shadow portion of the game as well. Kind of think of it like, you know, how Bowser's Fury was for Super Mario 3D World on the Nintendo Switch. It is a whole new section of a game added in, starring Shadow the Hedgehog with all of his abilities. Unlike in the Sonic sections, though, Shadow actually keeps all his abilities no matter what level it is. And I think that's pretty cool because it keeps things just kind of at the same brisk pace throughout. Not that I don't like the sort of change in the Sonic levels, but I do think it helps make this stick out a little bit as feeling, you know, a bit different and a bit fresh. I definitely enjoy playing as Shadow the Hedgehog. I mean, bro, I'll be honest with you. I even kind of liked like the original Shadow the Hedgehog game just a little bit. Just a little bit. I know I'm a weirdo, but definitely very enjoyable stuff. The levels feel very big. Of course, this is all new content that was added into the game. Everything is moving at a brisk pace as well. It's all very good stuff here. Now, talking about the performance, because obviously that's going to be a main factor for this game on the Switch 2. Thankfully, you know, this is feeling just like it does on the modern platforms. You do have 60 frames per second. You have great visual fidelity. You have beautiful backgrounds. Sonic moves extremely fast. Shadow moves fast too, but you can slow him down as well. Everything just looks and runs fantastic on the Nintendo Switch 2. There is one thing I do want to mention, though, because this was something that actually confused me quite a bit. When I was playing as Shadow for the first time, I was recording footage of it, and I was like, this doesn't feel right. Like, what's going on here? Why does this feel clunky? It doesn't feel as good as the Sonic stuff did. And I actually had to look it up online because I realized, oh, this is 30 frames per second. That's weird. I wonder why they did that. And there's actually a setting within the Shadow options that you can go into, and it's automatically by default prioritizing the quality, image quality instead of image performance, which I think is silly. Like when you boot up the Shadow stuff for the first time, there should be an option that it like gives you, because if I didn't look that up, because you know there's no game manuals anymore or something like that, if I didn't look that up online, I would have just assumed, oh, it just plays at 30 frames per second. But no, there's a toggle that you can switch that will make the game, the Shadow portions, run at 60 frames per second. Does it look like as good? Like, I guess there's a little bit of a decrease in some of the visual fidelity versus the quality mode, but still, like, I don't understand why that was kind of a thing. And I know it kind of sounds like a bit of a nitpick, but if you're like me and you haven't played this game before, the Sonic X Shadow Generations version of the game, you wouldn't know that. And so I thought that was kind of bizarre. I think Sega should maybe do like a patch or something to where it actually asks you when you boot up the Shadow the Hedgehog stuff. But this game, I love it, man. It's awesome. You know, taking the base game of Sonic Generations, adding in additional content, and the fact that, you know, it's running at 60 frames per second. The levels themselves look beautiful. There are tons of things to do in this game. Like, especially if you're a completionist, like not the guy that steals from charity, but if you're a completionist who likes to do everything within a game, like there is so much content for you to find in this game. Even like fun little side mini games, like a casino thing where you're playing a pinball level and stuff. I just found myself messing around with that for a long time, trying to get high scores and stuff. Simple little things like that that really make this package, you know, stand out in terms of how much content you get. If you already played it on the Xbox Series systems or the PlayStation 5 or something like that, I wouldn't bother picking it up. Like, there's no new additional stuff in here that you're missing out on. But if you haven't picked up this game and you picked up a Nintendo Switch 2 and you didn't play the Switch 1 version or anything like that, this is definitely a great game to pick up. It's something that you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of, especially if you're a Sonic fan. Whether you're a 2D Sonic fan or a 3D Sonic fan, I think the blending of the styles works absolutely marvelous in this game, and I'm definitely very happy that it looks and performs at such a high level on the Switch 2. So that's a little video on Sonic X Shadow Generations for the Nintendo Switch 2. Definitely a very high quality port. Sega seems to be doing a good job so far on the Switch 2. Let's hope that keeps up. I have to play Yakuza 0 now. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.